Travis installed the dashcam for security. That's what he told himself. The streets in Houston weren't unsafe. Not really, but it was the practical thing to do. Motion-activated cameras, synced to his phone, front and back views of the house. Enough for peace of mind while traveling. He didn't expect it to catch theft. And certainly not the kind that would happen inside his own home. He was 41, a mechanical engineer who liked order. He packed with checklists, labeled his workshop drawers, never left his tools unsorted. His wife, Ava, 38, worked in media from home, creative, sociable, always tapping away at her phone with half smiles that never quite reached him anymore. They had one son, Ethan, 10 years old, who still hugged his father like he was 5. The marriage wasn't failing, at least, not obviously. Dinners were cooked, bills paid, Ethan taken to school and picked up. But something in the house felt thinner lately. Conversations clipped, kisses brushed, not held, and then there were the calls. Travis had been on a job site near Dallas for 3 days. Late at night in his hotel room, out of habit, he pulled up the app connected to his dashcam and door camera. Usually there was nothing. Maybe a raccoon or a neighbor's cat. But that night, the motion alert was blinking. He tapped. The footage was time-stamped 8:12 p.m. His porch light flickered on. Ava came into frame, wearing the oversized hoodie she claimed was too warm to sleep in. She opened the door before the visitor even knocked. The man stepped in, not a neighbor, not a delivery guy, tall, confident. He leaned forward and kissed her. It wasn't brief. Travis stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over the pause button, but he didn't press it. The video kept playing. Ava closed the door, the porch light dimmed, and the feed went black. He set the phone down slowly, as if it was suddenly hot to the touch. He didn't call her, didn't call anyone. He stood, crossed the room, opened the mini fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, closed it again. The hum of the air conditioner filled the space. He didn't sleep. At dawn, he checked out without saying a word to the front desk. Got in his car, drove, not home, not to work, just away. His phone rang. He let it. Texts came in. He didn't read them. By the end of the first day, his phone was at 5%. He switched it off. Travis had never gone off the grid. Not in 20 years of working and loving and providing. But now he felt no need to explain himself. What would he say? I saw you with him. That felt too small, too polite, too civilized for what he'd seen. The camera didn't lie. The man's hands had touched her like he'd done it before. Her body moved like she'd anticipated it. This wasn't new. It had just never been recorded until now. He found a motel in a nowhere town, paid in cash, and lay in the dark without closing his eyes. Ava's face kept replaying, smiling. Soft, but not for him, not anymore. He wasn't angry, not exactly. Anger had heat, had movement. What Travis felt was colder, denser, like the air in the room was getting thicker, heavier, pressing down. At some point, he realized he hadn't eaten. He didn't care. The second night, he sat in the car outside a gas station for an hour, watching people go in and out, wondering if they knew who they loved, really loved, wondering if any of them were walking into homes where secrets lived on the couches, on the bedsheets. He thought about Ethan, about how his son would look at him differently if he ever saw what Travis had seen. On the third day, he found a trail in a state park and walked until his legs burned. He didn't take photos. He didn't think. He just let the quiet stretch around him, pressing against the storm behind his ribs. Then, just as suddenly as he left, Travis turned the car around. He wasn't running anymore. He was returning, not to confront, not to fight, but to act. 3 days gone, no warning, no contact. When he stepped into the house, Ava was sitting at the kitchen table, pale and wide-eyed. "Where were you?" she asked, voice cracking. He didn't answer, just set a small USB drive on the table. "What is that?" "Your honesty," he said. "It's all in there. You have 10 minutes. Then you can decide who you want to lie to next, me or yourself." And with that, he walked upstairs. The camera had spoken. And now, it was her turn. Ava called him 17 times in the first 4 hours. Then 6 more, then 3 texts, then silence, because silence felt easier than chasing a man who'd vanished without a trace. The last thing she expected from Travis was unpredictability. He was a man of routine, logic, and straight lines. His vanishing wasn't loud, it was deliberate, measured. But Ava knew what had happened. Somewhere between calls 7 and 10. She remembered the camera. She went to his office, opened his desktop, and saw the Dashcam app still logged in. And there it was. The footage. Her, at the door, Rick stepping in, the kiss. Ava's heart stopped. He'd seen it. He'd seen all of it. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the wall. Then she reached for her phone and deleted every message thread with Rick. Photos, voice notes, all of it, erased like it never happened. But it did, and Travis knew. By the second day, she contacted the police, told them her husband hadn't returned calls in over 24 hours. She said he'd been under stress, mild depression, long hours. The officer was polite but unconvinced. Any reason he might have left intentionally? She lied. None. Later that night, Ethan crawled into bed beside her. "Why hasn't Dad called?" he asked. Ava stared at the ceiling. "Maybe he's just busy, but he always calls," Ethan whispered. She didn't sleep. Every creak of the house felt like it might be Travis. Every vibration from her phone made her stomach twist. The guilt was no longer theoretical. It had weight now, density, the kind that crawled under your skin and built nests. Rick texted that night, just one line, "We need to talk. In person." She didn't answer. The next morning, he showed up anyway. She opened the door only halfway. "Are you crazy?" Rick smiled like this was all part of some sitcom misunderstanding. "We didn't kill anyone, you're making this too dramatic." Ava hissed. "My husband has disappeared. He saw the video. I'm being watched. You could be watched." Rick's grin faded. "You think he's dangerous?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I just know he's not like this. Ever." Rick nodded slowly. "So what now?" She shook her head. "Go. Just go." She closed the door, locked it, and slid down to the floor. The moments after that moved in fragments. Ava cleaning the same spot on the counter for 20 minutes. Ava staring at her reflection like it might reveal some other woman. Ava imagining what Travis might be thinking. Planning. Did he tell anyone? Did he talk to a lawyer? Did he go to his parents? Was he watching her right now? The paranoia crept in like fog. Not all at once, but slowly, until the walls felt wet with it. Every time Ethan asked about his dad, she flinched. On the third day, a car drove by twice in the same hour. Ava noted the plates. It wasn't Travis, but the fact that she hoped it was made her sick. She sat in Ethan's room that night while he slept. She held his hand and tried not to cry. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be a mistake. One night, a lonely reconnection, a stupid risk. But now Travis was gone. And the only thing louder than his absence was the knowledge that she deserved it. She replayed their last conversations in her head. The way his eyes lingered just a little longer before each trip. The way he'd started pausing before saying goodbye. Had he known all along? Or had she just broken something he thought was whole? There was no answer, only the ticking of the kitchen clock, the sound of a child's breath in sleep, and the waiting for a door to open, or for the silence to grow so loud it swallowed her whole. Travis returned the same way he always did, keys in the lock, shoes on the mat, jacket hung on the hook, as if nothing had happened, as if 3 days of silence didn't fracture everything. Ava stood in the hallway like she'd forgotten how to breathe. He was clean-shaven, calm, the lines on his face tighter than before. He didn't look angry, he didn't look anything. "I made coffee," she said, voice trembling. He ignored it. From his coat pocket, Travis pulled out a small black USB drive. He placed it gently on the kitchen table and looked at her for the first time. "You have 10 minutes," he said. "Watch everything, then speak to yourself, not to me." Ava didn't ask what was on it. She knew. Her fingers were shaking as she plugged it into the laptop. The screen flickered. A folder opened. 3 weeks of footage. Dated. Labeled. She clicked the first one. The camera captured Rick stepping into the house. Ava's hand on his chest. A laugh. A glance toward the hallway. Fade to black. The second video. Same porch. Different day. Rick stayed longer. Ava brought wine. They disappeared into the living room. The third video made her hand go limp on the mouse. Rick's car outside. Long after midnight. Travis's camera zoomed. Timed. Logged. Rick exiting in the morning. Shirt wrinkled. Hair tousled. Ava stood in the doorway. Kissed him goodbye. She turned and entered the house. In the same video's background, through the upstairs window, Ethan's nightlight was glowing. He'd been home. Ava covered her mouth, but the sob slipped through. Her knees bent involuntarily, and she sank to the floor. The videos kept playing, one after another. Her lies, captured in grainy color, in silence more damning than sound. Travis didn't speak. He didn't even watch her. He stood by the window, arms crossed, back to the room, like a judge waiting for a verdict he already knew. When the final video ended, Ava shut the laptop with a snap like it might burn her. "I didn't mean for." "No," Travis said. She looked up. "No explanations. No rewrites. Just this," he said. He turned, walked across the kitchen, picked up his bag from beside the stairs. "You taught our son," he continued, voice quiet, "that the people he trusts can kiss someone in the dark and smile in the light like nothing happened." "Travis, please. You taught him secrets live in hallways and silence. You taught him how to lie without words." Ava broke. Tears poured. Her body curled, grief hitting like a wave of glass. Travis crouched and looked her in the eye. "I can forgive damage. I've done it before, but betrayal built with intent, repeated, calculated, that's something I won't let Ethan inherit." Her mouth opened, but there were no words left. Just the sound of her crying and the low hum of the refrigerator. He stood, walked upstairs. She stayed on the floor. 10 minutes later, he came down. No suitcase, just a duffel. She looked up, bloodshot eyes wide. "I'm not taking him," Travis said, anticipating the question. "I'm not stealing anything." He paused at the door. "I'm just removing myself from the equation that taught him this was okay." And with that, he left. No slammed door, no shouted threats, only the echo of footsteps and the memory of video files. Ava sat there long after night fell. The screen on the laptop went dark. But the images didn't. They stayed burned behind her eyes, every smile, every shadow, every kiss. Travis hadn't needed to yell. The truth was louder than anything he could say. The divorce was uncontested. There were no fights about assets. No drawn-out meetings in attorneys' offices. Travis only had one non-negotiable condition written clearly in the settlement. No one will teach Ethan that love can exist beside betrayal. Ava signed it with trembling hands. She didn't try to get custody. Shared time, yes. Logistics, sure. But Travis's message was clear. This wasn't about punishment. It was about principle. Rick never contacted her again. He disappeared the moment he realized Travis had seen everything. Ava suspected he knew what kind of man Travis was. The kind who didn't explode. Didn't threaten. Just left you with a silence that echoed long after you were gone. Weeks passed. Ava, desperate to be heard, recorded a video. She sat in her bedroom. Makeup gone. Eyes raw. She spoke directly to the lens. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect understanding. But I want you to know I'm sorry. And I know what I destroyed." She sent the video to Travis. He never opened it. What he did send, however, was a reply from his attorney, a file labeled, "Recommended Trauma Therapy for Children Exposed to Familial Infidelity." No note, no signature, just the link, just the message beneath the message. Ethan matters more than closure. Life became quiet, routine. Travis moved into a condo 2 towns over. He decorated it sparsely, bookshelves, plants, a workbench in the garage. Every second weekend, Ethan stayed with him. They fished, built wooden airplanes, talked in soft, slow voices about things like planets and baseball and what it means to be honest. But the house didn't echo with laughter the way it once had. It echoed with awareness. One night, during his final sleepover before school resumed, Ethan sat on the edge of the bed while Travis folded laundry. "Dad," he asked, "are you ever coming back home?" Travis stopped folding, set the shirt down, sat beside him. "I didn't go anywhere, buddy." Ethan frowned. "But you don't live with us anymore." Travis looked at his son, not just looked, but saw him, the small frown lines forming far too early for a 10-year-old. The confusion children carry when adults make mistakes they can't explain. He rested a hand on Ethan's back. "Sometimes," he said, "there are places where love used to live. But if that place becomes filled with hurt and lies, it's no longer safe, not even for love." Ethan didn't reply. He just leaned into his father's side and whispered, "I don't want to learn to lie." Travis kissed the top of his head. "That's why I left." Ethan, "So you'd never think that was normal?" A week later, school started. Ava dropped Ethan off and waved from the car. But he ran inside without looking back. At home, she stared at old photos, vacations, birthdays, Christmas mornings. There was a picture of Travis holding Ethan as a baby, eyes wide with joy. It looked like another life. In many ways, it was. The silence in the house wasn't just absence, it was consequence. She picked up her phone, considered sending another message, then set it back down. There was nothing left to say. On Ethan's birthday, they held 2 parties, one at Ava's, one at Travis's. At hers, family came. Cake was cut. The camera flashed. At Travis's, it was just the 2 of them. A telescope, a night sky, and a whispered wish Ethan wouldn't repeat aloud. The closing moment came not in court, but in a quiet morning over waffles. Ethan looked up from his plate and asked, "When will I stop remembering it?" Travis didn't rush to answer. "Maybe you won't," he said, "but it won't always hurt. And it won't define you. That part is ours to choose." The boy nodded, kept eating, and Travis sat there, watching him, knowing that some legacies are broken quietly, not with vengeance, but with love that refuses to bend around dishonesty. And that was enough. Travis didn't break things. He didn't scream or destroy. He simply walked away from a home that no longer told the truth. But what happens when the betrayal begins with good intentions, when it feels like love, but becomes something legally unforgivable? In our next story, we travel to El Paso. Renee had given up on her husband long before the paperwork started. But as the divorce process unfolded, she found herself leaning on someone new, her own attorney. What started as emotional support turned into something deeper, something blurred. Until one day, the man she was trying to leave turned the entire case around and sued her for adultery. Coming up next, Renee from El Paso. She fell in love with her divorce attorney. While still married,